Story 1. A phone charger, jumper cables, a flashlight, and bottled water. Story 2. Add a blanket or sleeping bag. Portable car battery chargers are now small and relatively inexpensive, so it is useful to have one. I also keep spare light bulbs for each of my main headlights and taillights. A Reddit user named NoMistake5238 pointed out that there are both battery chargers and battery jump starters. I was referring to the battery jump starter. Just make sure the ampere rating is correct for your vehicle. Story 3. After the embarrassing incident in 1999, I decided to always keep a change of clothes in my car. Story 4. Duct tape, jumper cables, a flashlight, and an old hoodie. You would be surprised how many problems those 4 items can solve. Oh, and snacks, because no one makes rational decisions on an empty stomach. Story 5. I keep a window breaker in the glove box of every car I own. Story 6. You do not want the steering wheel to fly off while you drive. Story 7. A shovel and quicklime. You never know when they will come in handy. Story 8. 2 pounds of cannabis, a case of rolling papers, and a case of Bic lighters. You never know when or where you are going to break down. Story 9. 1. 2 jugs of emergency drinking water. 2. First aid kit. Do not buy one online. You can save money by assembling your own from supplies at Walmart or Target. 3. A small supply of emergency food such as tuna pouches or protein bars. 4. An updated copy of your medical history, including insurance information and current medications. 5. Flashlight with extra batteries. 6. Smartphone with an extra car charger. 7. Umbrella. 8. Rain poncho. 9. Emergency flares. 10. Jumper cables or a portable jump starter. 11. Blankets or a sleeping bag in case you are stranded in freezing temperatures. 12. Window breaker tool in case you need to escape from your car or assist someone else. Story 10. I am a minimalist, so I carry almost nothing. I think I have a towel, a phone cord, and $50. I add a snow brush in winter. Story 11. Tire inflator comes in handy for keeping tires at their correct pressures and for inflating the spare donut. Most spare donuts are flat when you need them. A can of water displacing spray helps loosen lug nuts. Story 12. Glass breaking tool. You can help trap drivers. If you have a Tesla, a glass breaking tool can help you escape when the electronic doors fail. Story 13. 30 essential things you should keep in your car. Life hacker. What are some things you should always keep in your car? Bing search. Story 14. Hand sanitizer, a pen, an emergency bottle of water, and baby wipes are helpful in the car. Story 15. I keep a portable battery pack charged in my car. It comes with attachments to jumpstart a car. The number of times this pack has staved off a panic attack or nervous breakdown is priceless. I have been without power during hurricanes, and it powered my phone. Once my car would not start when I was on my way to pick up my oldest from school. Problem solved. As a late 40s widowed parent, I appreciate not having to flag down strangers to see if they can jumpstart my car. Story 16. Jumper cables. Flashlight. A few flares in case you are stranded on a very dark road. A small shovel or pickaxe for digging out of ice. A small bag of cat litter to put under your tires if you cannot get out of a slippery snow drift. A small supply of non-perishable food. A blanket. Pair of gloves. A paper map because the global positioning system can fail. A list of important phone numbers tucked in your glove box in case you lose cellular service. Story 17. Kitty litter is useful for absorbing large spills and can provide traction for tires when they are stuck on ice or snow. Story 18. I am so surprised no one has said Kleenex or napkins yet. Story 19. A phone charger, alcohol, a face mask, a first aid kit, and a tissue. Story 20. Here are essential items to keep in your car. 1. Vehicle registration and proof of insurance. 2. Driver identification and emergency contact list. 3. Owner manual for your vehicle. 4. First aid kit with basic medical supplies. 5. Several bottles of drinking water. 6. Non-perishable snacks such as energy bars. 7. Flashlight with extra batteries. 8. Portable battery pack and phone charging cable. 9. Jumper cables or a portable jump starter. 10. Tire pressure gauge and a portable air compressor. 11. Spare tire, jack, and lug wrench. 12. Reflective warning triangles and a compact fire extinguisher. 13. Heavy-duty gloves and a warm blanket. 14. Small multi-tool with pliers, screwdriver, and knife. 15. Duct tape and a strong towing strap. 16. Rain poncho or waterproof outerwear and an umbrella. 17. Paper maps and a compass for navigation backup. 18. Snow scraper, brush, and a small folding shovel for winter. 19. Absorbent material such as cat litter or sand for traction. 20. Pen, paper, and a small amount of cash for emergencies. Story 21. Toolkit, glow sticks, fire extinguisher, flashlight, and a tool to break a window or cut a seatbelt. Story 22. A spare pair of inexpensive reading glasses. Story 23. Aside from what everyone else said, bring a bag of clothes. You never know when you will need it. Story 24. Flashlight, phone charger, gas can, jumper cables, blanket, snacks, an extra sweater, and a hat. Story 25. Bring an extra pair of eyeglasses for driving. If the glasses you are wearing crack or your contact lenses get something in them, you will have a backup. Story 26. If you are in an area with bodies of water nearby, keep a tool or heavy object in your car to break a window in an emergency. Story 27. Hospital puke bags. Seriously, my sister keeps them in her car, and they have actually come in handy. Story 28. Napkins, charger, and tampons if you are on your period. Story 29. Granola bars and bottled water. You never know when you will be stuck in traffic on a highway for hours. Story 30. Comfortable waterproof walking shoes, a heavy-duty blanket, a compass, a flashlight, a reflective vest, and both full and fingerless gloves. Story 31. If you live where it gets cold, keep a metal can, candles, and matches on hand. I was always told a coffee can works, but most coffee containers are now plastic. A lit candle in a metal can is said to put out a lot of heat, though I have never tried it. Story 32. I keep a $20 bill taped to the back of the floor mat. It has come in handy many times over the years. Story 33. Robust first aid kit, folding shovel, seatbelt cutter and window breaker, and a roll of vinyl flooring for impromptu breakdance performances. Story 34. An old cell phone can be useful. Even without a SIM card, by law it must still be able to connect to cellular networks for emergency calls only. If you are ever stuck without a phone, it could come in handy. Story 35. Bottled water, basic hygiene items, toilet paper, toolkit, fire extinguisher, snacks, extra clothes, sleeping bag, condoms size extra large, Advil, bottle of champagne. Story 36. Includes a portable tire inflator and a supercapacitor jump starter. Supercapacitor jump starters are better than battery jump starters because they are safer, they last longer, they are not affected by temperature, and they do not need to be charged ahead of time. They will charge from your car's dead battery as long as it has enough power to turn the lights on. They charge in 3 minutes or less. Story 37. A back scratcher. Trust me, it will change your life. No more rubbing your back awkwardly on the seat to try to reach that pesky itch. Story 38. Warm shirt, gloves, tissues, jumper cables, and the head of your little sister. Story 39. We have snowstorms here, and I go to the mountains quite often, so I always keep extra blankets, jackets, water bottles, snacks, and energy bars in my car in case I need to pull over and spend the night. Story 40. Hear me out. Keep an overnight bag in your car with everything you need to be ready and presentable the next day. I learned this the hard way when, as a regional manager, I was often more than an hour from home and got stranded. I now always have one in my car. It makes the decision to stop or keep going in bad weather or heavy traffic much easier. Story 41. Rechargeable jumper pack, first aid kit, blanket, bottle of water, snacks, phone charger, bag of loose change, emergency contact information. Story 42. A spare change of clothes, even if it is just old sweatpants, socks, and underwear. Story 43. Bring a set of clothes, a blanket, a large water bottle, and a torch. Story 44. Jumper cables, plug and tire inflator, bottled water, first aid kit, basic socket set and screwdrivers, zip ties, duct tape, tie-down strap, ice scraper, a blanket, a bag of almonds. Story 45. $20 cash in the glove box. Fix a flat spray, blanket, air pump, first aid kit. Story 46. Keep a spare pair of old sneakers or boots. You never know when bad weather will occur. Story 47. Start with gas. Without it, that thing will not leave the driveway and will essentially become a storage bin. Story 48. I have a toolbox, a ratchet set, and a jack in my car. Story 49. Battery pack, umbrella, adjustable spanner, jump leads, torch, blankets that can be useful for gripping tires in snow in an emergency, dry and wet wipes, spare universal serial bus cables, Ziploc bag of wooden sporks, cable ties, bungee cords, multi-tool or Swiss Army knife, glass cleaner, 12-volt pump or foot pump. These are mostly small items that can fit in a small box, apart from a couple that I normally keep nearby just in case. Story 50. Wet wipes, napkins, first aid kit, duffel bag with spare clothing, tire changing kit, toolbox including hammer, screwdriver, wrench and flashlight, jumper cables or a portable jump starter, extra flashlights and batteries, blanket, a few grocery bags for trash or other uses, spare phone charger with a universal serial bus connector and the other common phone connector. Story 51. I put a multi-tool and a first aid kit in my car a few years ago and have already used both many times. Story 52. Phone charger, cold weather jacket or rain jacket, first aid kit, knife, lighter, tarp, paracord, and flashlight. My first aid kit is basic for a car accident or a motorcycle accident and includes a tourniquet, bandages, an aluminum splint, and other items. The phone, charger, and a jacket can be expensive, but you need them. The rest of the items combined should cost about $50, and you can transfer them from one car to the next indefinitely. I bring the same items I used as a trail guide, with the addition of a phone charger. Story 53. If you're driving in winter, bring tea candles. The heat from a single candle can be enough to prevent someone from freezing to death. Story 54. Ratchet straps, zip ties, crescent wrench, pliers or vice grips, knife, duct tape, rag or napkins for checking fluids and wiping, onboard diagnostics code reader to help identify engine problems, jumper cables, jack, air compressor, and spare tire, often included with the vehicle, stick deodorant and baby powder, charging cables for your devices, insurance information, highway map. Local transportation or tourism offices often provide free maps. Seasonal warm blanket. Story 55. A heavy coat. Yes, even in the summer. You won't remember to pack it in the winter. You don't want to be stranded with a breakdown in sub-zero temperatures in a remote area without appropriate clothing. Story 56. A roll of paper towels, a grocery bag for trash, a spare change of clothes with a bag for soiled garments, and a couple of non-melting snacks. Story 57. Fire extinguisher, granola bars, a flashlight, a glass breaker in case you are trapped by a door and need to get out, tools such as screwdrivers and a socket wrench, a car battery charger, and a tire inflator. I never leave without them. Story 58. A canned tire inflator works for emergencies. I do not know how many times I have stopped to give one to someone stuck on the side of the road. I now also have a rechargeable electric inflator, but I will always carry the canned one. Story 59. First aid kit, emergency kit, recovery kit, tool kit, jump starter and air compressor, fire extinguisher and blanket. Story 60. Include all of the emergency items mentioned before. Because I live in Florida, I also pack a swimsuit and towel, a large bristle brush for removing sand from my feet after a beach walk, a small pill bottle filled with quarters for parking meters, and water. Story 61. A flashlight, a first aid kit, water, charging cables, a pen and paper, a spare tire or a repair kit with a compressor, and a window breaker. Story 62. Acetaminophen, ibuprofen, Pepsid, Gas-X, Imodium, Zofran, triple antibiotic cream, adhesive bandages, wipes, nasal tampons for my son who gets nosebleeds, tissues, water, phone chargers, list of emergency phone numbers, wireless internet in the car, small bottle of mouthwash, small deodorant, cotton swabs, clothes brush, comb, small scissors, small tube of sunscreen, sunglasses, small tube of moisturizer, pointed nail file. Once I became ill in the car, my spouse was driving. We were on Franklin D. Roosevelt Drive in heavy traffic. I yelled for the Trader Joe's frozen food bag behind the driver's seat. My spouse grabbed it, I flipped it open, and I vomited into it. Then I zipped it closed. It did not smell or leak. We threw it away when we got home. I now keep one in the car at all times. Story 63. I have a large Duluth bag in my trunk containing a jump starter, a tire inflator, a can of Fix a flat tire sealant, tire plugs, a 1/2 inch cordless impact wrench with a socket for the wheel bolts, screwdrivers, a work light, 2 Fix surplus wool blankets, protein bars, and bottles of water. Story 64. I did not see this mentioned in the replies. High visibility items are important. Wear a high visibility jacket or vest, and carry flares or reflective markers. Story 65. Bring a go bag, a change of clothes, personal items, some water, a towel, a blanket, and food in case you get stranded and have to sleep in your car overnight, such as when the snowstorm caught Atlanta off guard a few years ago. A small portable power bank would be very helpful. Story 66. Hand sanitizer. I hate gas station pumps, also known as germ orgies. Story 67. Tube of sand, a Leatherman, a gallon of washer fluid, a reflective blanket, and a change of clothes. Story 68. As someone who spent my first few decades without cell phones, my first thought was a cell phone. I sometimes forget that everyone carries one now. My second suggestion is shoes. As a young man, I was once stranded in the countryside a few miles from my home without shoes. Good times. Story 69. A spare set of clothes, including underwear, socks, pants, a shirt, and a hoodie. I always have a tape measure in my car, jumper cables, a flashlight, and a reflective vest. Story 70. My car has a spare, and one thing I keep with me so I always know where it is a small battery-powered tire pump. The one I have is compact and lasts a long time on a charge. It is called Xiaomi Portable Electric Air Compressor. I use it not for emergencies but to keep my tires properly inflated. It is easier than going to the gas station, although it takes longer. I can also inflate my spare if I need to, which I often forget to do. Story 71. An old bath towel is not just for drying off in the rain. Roll it up to use as a pillow or as a small blanket. Story 72. Window braking device that also cuts seat belts. Mine has a small strap that attaches to my visor. Story 73. Portable compressor and tire repair kit. A first aid kit is surprisingly handy. Story 74. A warm, lightweight jacket. A waterproof jacket if needed for your area. Comfortable walking shoes, preferably lightweight tennis shoes with socks. Heavy work gloves. A bottle of water. A small flashlight. All items can be packed in a small zipped bag and placed behind a seat or in the trunk. Story 75. Blanket, poncho, first aid supplies, flashlight and pocket knife. Story 76. First aid kit, fire extinguisher, blanket, phone charger, lighter, jack and spare tire, emergency flares, and a couple of bottles of water. Story 77. Ever since my husband had to spend a night in his car during a snowstorm, we have all been required to have thick blankets. Story 78. I am a computer numerical control machinist, so I keep a change of clothes, It is not hard to make a mistake that can leave you doused from head to toe in coolant. Story 79. A pack of tissues and basic feminine hygiene supplies. If you are a man, these supplies are for passengers in a pinch. Story 80. A knife. I plan to rescue someone by cutting their seat belt if they flip their car over. Story 81. A complete laminated copy of the French Constitution after the Revolution, in case you encounter any aristocrats who try to give you cake. Story 82. A small camp shovel and a roll of toilet paper have been useful in the past. Story 83. A battery pack that allows you to jumpstart your vehicle and inflate your tires. Bottled water. Blankets. Ice scraper. Small shovel. Story 84. These were the items that were standard operating procedure. Jumper cables and a booster pack. Flashlight and headlamp. Phone charger and quarters for payphones. Poncho. Heavy gloves. Umbrella. Quality 4-way tire tool. 1 gallon of engine coolant. Quart of motor oil. Basic tool set. Good state map. Coat and gloves in winter for walking away from a broken-down car on the side of a remote highway. Spare magazine. Story 85. We keep towing straps, a first aid kit, a shovel, and a battery jumper. We can drive on the beaches here in Washington State. My husband and I love to help people get out of the sand at no charge so they can get home safely. I am also a registered nurse, so you never know when that medical kit will be needed. I have had to perform cardiopulmonary resuscitation on the sand. That was a new experience for me. Story 86. Basic toolkit. Flashlight with fresh batteries. Jumper cables. Bottle of water. Blanket. First aid kit. Tow rope. Fire extinguisher. Spare bulbs. Jerry can. Road flares or a warning triangle. Spare oil for topping up. Spare windshield washer fluid. Tissues. Emergency rain poncho. De-icer. I believe I have all of these items. Story 87. Phone charger, 1.40 caliber Smith & Wesson firearm, 1 Byrna non-lethal chemical agent pepper ball, toolkit, air pump, and jumper cables. Story 88. Carry a proper jack, jumper cables, a spare battery or jump pack, a tire repair kit, basic tools, duct tape, a good flashlight, a phone charger, a jug of distilled water, a blanket, and current paper maps for the areas you are traveling in. Also keep a small cooler filled with ready-to-eat food. Story 89. Flashlight, water, pepper spray, jumper cables, phone charger, towel, tire pressure gauge, tire wrench, socks and gloves if you live in a cold climate. Also, annually check your spare tire. It can be helpful to have a membership with the American Automobile Association. Story 90. A bag of peanut butter pretzels. You have to have that survival food. Story 91. Ibuprofen. Extra eyeglasses if you need them for driving. Story 92. Portable jumpers are amazing. They take up less space than jumper cables, do not require a second car, and take only a few seconds. Story 93. I always keep a go bag that includes a blanket, candy, fruit leather, soap, a lighter, dry fuel, playing cards, water, tampons, bandages, disinfectant, utensils, markers, pens, pencils, a knife, a flashlight, a phone charger, and a change of clothes. I also carry a spare tire, a jack, jumper cables, and an emergency tool to break a window. I live in a place where 99% of the time you will never need this stuff. However, I also live where you could die overnight from exposure, and walking somewhere is not always practical. I try to pack enough to last myself in case my car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, which usually happens at least once. Story 94. Seats. No matter how much someone tries to convince you that removing them will save weight and therefore fuel, keep the seats. Story 95. Go to Harbor Freight Tools and pick up a Pittsburgh 100 pounds per square inch tankless air pump. It runs on the battery in your car and reaches all 4 tires. Story 96. I also carry a bottle opener, nail clippers, and wipes. In winter, I carry a small shovel, blankets including 1 reflective emergency blanket, an empty coffee can, and a candle to melt snow if needed. Story 97. Tissues, napkins in the glove compartment, hand sanitizer, gum, an extra blanket or jacket, and a window breaker and seatbelt cutter in case of emergency. Story 98. A compact battery jumper and a compact air compressor. Story 99. Also include non-perishable food items because you never know, especially for people in cold or snowy climates. Story 100. This would be too much for most people, but I travel a lot to remote locations. The following is equipment I have used numerous times. I keep a small organizer box in my car, plus items in the console and extra space where the jack is kept, so you would not know I am fully stocked. Ryobi air inflator and impact wrench with 2 batteries. One battery stays on a charger in my console and can provide universal serial bus power when the car is off. Will lug socket for the impact wrench and an adapter to operate the scissor jack and the bolt that lowers the spare tire. I have a sport utility vehicle and have struggled jacking it up and changing tires in the past. Tire plug kit. 2 lights that use CR123A lithium batteries, 1 headlamp and 1 magnetic flashlight with spare batteries. Packable rain jacket and pants kept in a compression bag so they are very small. I typically leave the jacket uncompressed in winter since it is often my outer layer. A pair of waterproof hiking boots that I use a few times per week, so I can remain waterproof for an extended period. Roll of paper towels. Leatherman multi-tool. Glass breaker. Portable jump starter. 6-foot Turkish towel that packs very small. A couple of water bottles and packs of trail mix. Ryobi 1-gallon shop vacuum because I have 2 Jack Russell Terriers that shed continuously. I usually have a first aid kit in a pack, but I need one dedicated to the car. I live in the South, so I do not really need a blanket and can make do with the rain gear. Story 101. Checklist for New England. A blanket, gloves, a beanie, an ice scraper, a snow brush and jumper cables. Standard items. Tissues, a glasses cleaning cloth, and quarters for the air machine on back roads, because that is always when you need them. Story 102. Phone charger, glass breakers with seatbelt cutters, fire blanket, high visibility vest, breaching tomahawk, spare hiking boots and wool blend socks, high intensity headlamp, gloves, beanie, hand sanitizer, knife, multi-tool, box cutter, spare change, silcock key, shovel, crowbar, camp saw, machete, double-action bolt cutters, gun safe, first aid kit, combat application tourniquet, spare blankets, automotive fluids. Additional items for longer trips to manage battery or tire failures, and a fire extinguisher. Story 103. Nail clippers, hand sanitizer, charging cable, and tissues. Story 104. I've seen one person here mention a fire extinguisher. There are small fire extinguishers designed specifically for cars. Get one. Story 105. I always keep a first aid kit, an emergency go bag with food, water, a radio, a fire starter and other essentials, plus a small breakdown kit with jumper cables, a reflective triangle, and a space blanket. Honestly, I probably overdo it, but it is just what I have. Story 106. Flashlight, down sleeping bag for cold weather areas, gloves, and water. Story 107. Do you commute to work? Pack a change of clothes including underwear, socks, and shoes, and bring water, a flashlight, a window breaker and knife combo, a lighter, a first aid kit, reflective triangles, and a jacket. Story 108. Toolkit, tow strap, and jump pack are year-round for me. In winter, I add an ice scraper and a shovel. Other recommendations I have heard, but do not really follow myself, though maybe I should, are a first aid kit, cat litter, a tire inflator, a window breaking tool, and a blanket or sleeping bag. Story 109. Fire extinguisher. Also, a gallon of water. If you break down in the middle of nowhere, you will not die of dehydration. Story 110. A jacket and boots are good to have if you break down in the cold. Story 111. Wasp and hornet spray is better than pepper spray, and it is available everywhere. Story 112. Also, keep kitty litter if you live in an area that gets snow. Story 113. Tissues are best. Fast food napkins do a good job, but I always need one. Story 114. If you are in the business of presenting, bring an extra pair of underwear and a black tie that will go with anything. As you get older, the saying "never trust a fart," unfortunately, becomes very true. Story 115. I don't know about anyone else, but I keep a small bag with a 1.5-person tent, a sleeping bag, and a tarp in my trunk. I know the odds are extremely rare, but if my car ever breaks down far from home, I have the comfort of knowing I can camp discreetly for the night. Story 116. Window breaker, seatbelt cutter and torch in the door pocket. Prescription sunglasses in the overhead pocket. Clean drinking water in the boot, replaced annually, and jumper cables. This covers most bases in Australia. Story 117. Blanket, jumper cables, change of clothes, phone charger, spare sunglasses, a couple of water bottles, an empty gas can, flashlight, first aid kit, pen and pad of paper, window breaker and seatbelt cutter, bug spray, sunscreen, and some rope or twine. These are my non-negotiable bare minimums. Upgrades I use: a jump pack instead of cables, which also doubles as a phone charger, a 4-way tire iron instead of the one that comes with the car, road flares, a box of snacks such as granola bars, and a tow strap. Regionally, add hand warmers and a snow scraper. Avoid keeping prescriptions, cash, or valuable clothing in your car unless they can be securely stored. My car was broken into and we suspect it was targeted because of prescription bottles that contained omeprazole for acid reflux and Motrin 800 milligrams. Story 118. For winter, be sure to have winter boots, a jacket, gloves, a toque, hand warmers, an air compressor, and booster cables just in case. Story 119. A steering wheel that does not detach while you are driving. Story 120. I always keep a laundry basket or storage tote in my truck for grocery shopping. Story 121. A bug-out kit is anything you need to survive if you are in the middle of nowhere. Story 122. Use high visibility and reflective items. If you are stranded or become lost, you need to be easily seen. Story 123. Gloves for picking up the giant turtle sitting in the middle of the road. A first aid kit in case it bites you. Story 124. I remember, as a kid, my much older cousin kept a bottle of ketchup in his glove box for drive-in fries. I was very impressed. Story 125. Good jumper cables and a fully charged jump starter pack. A charged portable power bank and a phone charger. A retired 5th generation or at least 4th generation phone in case your phone becomes unusable. A gallon of water and non-perishable snacks. Rotate them regularly. A roll of paper towels. A space blanket. A tire inflator and a tire sealant such as Fix-A, flat. Several large garbage bags. First aid kit. An easy-to-use jack. An old hoodie. An old flat sheet. Pocket knife. A few flashlights with extra batteries. Instant heat packs and instant ice packs. A folding shovel. A small socket and screwdriver set. 2 double-sealing collapsible gasoline cans. Most of these items can fit in a small wastebasket, which is also useful. Story 126. A baseball mitt to make the baseball bat look less suspicious. Story 127. An elk ivory item that a friend gave me several years ago. A challenge coin I received from a member of the Denver Police Department bomb squad. Chapstick, a Leatherman tool, hand warmers, and a small basket of snacks such as small bags of trail mix. Story 128. I keep a first aid kit and, because I live in a cold climate, I include hand warmers. Story 129. First aid kit. Emergency flares. Tow strap. Fire extinguisher. Jumper cables. Story 130. Duct tape. Screwdriver. Paper towels. Bottles of water. Blanket. Rope. Spare tire or donut. Quarters. Phone charging cables. Acetaminophen or ibuprofen. Emergency light. Tire pump. Gloves. Sunscreen, antiperspirant, insect repellent, and a first aid kit. Story 131. Towel, bottled water, phone charger, umbrella, extra bags. Story 132. Depending on the season, I usually keep jumper cables, rope, toilet paper, a blanket, and cardboard, especially in winter for tire traction. My compact discs remain in my car regardless of the season. Story 133. All the necessary items to repair a flat tire, including a compressor. This summer I had a double flat. Story 134. Pack clean underwear, socks, a t-shirt, and possibly pants. Hide some money for emergencies. Story 135. Bottled water. Phone charger and portable car battery charger. Glass breaker to break a car window in an accident. Seatbelt cutter. Battery-powered tire inflator. Solar charger. Emergency blanket. Go pack containing a backpack with clothes and essential medicines. A knife, matches or a lighter or a fire starter. Spare batteries, 2 flashlights, and dried food. Steel will kept in a strong resealable bag and a 9-volt battery stored in another bag. When combined, they make an effective and fast fire starter. Story 136. If you are in a cold climate, an ice and snow scraper, a wool blanket, a votive or tea candle, and a book of matches are good to have. Wool keeps you warm even if you are wet from snow, and a small candle can keep you warm enough in a car to survive a night in a whiteout or after crashing into a snowdrift. Story 137. I keep an emergency kit for my pets with enough supplies for a few days, including an extra change of clothes, a small tarp from a dollar store, a battery booster, a tire inflator, a blanket, several hoodies, and a box cutter. Story 138. A good multi-tool, not some cheap Amazon garbage. Leatherman, Swiss Army knife, SOG specialty knives and tools, Gerber, or affordable options from Maxon or Nextel. Story 139. Even in midsummer, if I am on a multi-day road trip, a blanket and a pillow are must-haves. Story 140. Water, blanket, jumper cables. I was stuck on the highway for 9 hours in the middle of winter and did not have enough gas to keep the car running. I thought I would freeze to death before the situation cleared. Story 141. Fire extinguisher. 4 or 6 gauge jumper cables. Light-emitting diode flares. A powerful light-emitting diode flashlight and extra batteries. A good book. A portable tire air compressor and patch kit. A trunk organizer to keep everything neat. A full-size spare tire or at least a donut spare. Situation-specific items. Wool blanket, extra hoodie or coat, ski mask, gloves, socks, and plenty of chemical hand and foot warmers if you are in a place that gets life-threateningly cold temperatures. A ratcheting winch and a couple hundred feet of strong rope or chain if you are frequently out in rough or muddy terrain, especially at night or in remote areas where help or a phone signal might not be available. A lighter and a piece of fire starter or some tinder in a small tin. Toilet paper or wipes. A handful of protein bars. A good knife. A small aluminum pot. 2 stainless steel water bottles. A sturdy canvas backpack to keep everything organized if you are frequently in very remote areas where nobody will pass by for days. Story 142. Lots of good suggestions. From my extensive vehicle preparation, the items I have used most are a portable jump starter, large zip ties, a first aid kit, a Leatherman multi-tool, a Swiss Army knife, a flashlight, disposable latex gloves, 550-pound paracord, a blanket, and disposable rain ponchos. Story 143. Hand tools, including a ratchet set, medical kit, flashlight, jumper cables, water, meals ready to eat, entrenching tool, knife and multi-tool, fire extinguisher, tire chains. Story 144. A couple of inexpensive fleece or wool blankets are useful if you break down and it is cold, and for impromptu picnics or stargazing. Story 145. Clothing, blanket, portable jump starter to start a dead battery, and basic tools such as a hammer, adjustable wrench, pliers, multi-bit screwdriver, and box cutter. Story 146. 25 feet of rope, 2 rolls of duct tape, 1 blue tarp, 1 quality shovel, 1 5-pound pail of lye, just in case. Sarcasm. Story 147. I use a roll of quarters for multi-hour parking. Before anyone says a city parking application is more convenient, hear me out. The Park Boston application does not allow consecutive parking for the same vehicle in the same zone. I am not sure how it works in other cities. I usually max out the meter with quarters, set a timer for when it expires, then pay with the application. I have saved a lot of money during Red Sox games around Fenway. Story 148. I bought a portable jump starter that can jumpstart your car battery. I cannot say how many times I have used it. It also has a bright light, a phone charging port, and an air compressor. Everyone needs this, even if you have the American Automobile Association. Story 149. Napkins and paper towels. Gloves. Ice scraper or snow removal tool. Flashlight. Story 150. Jumper cables, a blanket or sleeping bag. Sugar water to lower the freezing point and provide calories. Plain water. Shelf-stable emergency snacks. A good jack. A socket set. A gallon of antifreeze. $40. A knife. A multi-bit screwdriver. Channel lock pliers. Needle nose pliers. A window breaking tool. Facial tissues. Petroleum jelly. 2 lighters. A spare key. In a magnetic box attached to the underside of your car for both your car and your house only if you live in a very low-crime area. Hand warmers. Toenail clippers. Vehicle registration and insurance documents. A towel. A poncho or umbrella. A phone charger. Antacids if you need them. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs for pain relief. A first aid kit. And windshield washer fluid. It is a lot, but most of it can be stored as a kit in your trunk without taking up much space. If you never need any of it, good for you. If you do need items, you will be well covered for most roadside emergencies. Story 151. A big knife, a gun with plenty of ammunition, a tarp, a shovel, bleach, and some landmines. Having a bit of cocaine and dope is not a bad idea either. Story 152. Depends on where you live. I added a warm, comfortable blanket in the winter in addition to a fire blanket. Right now I keep a basic toolbox, a first aid kit that I feel is inadequate, premix coolant, a jug of water, jumper cables, a jumper box, a multi-tool, trash bags, Bowie knife, toilet paper, a change of clothes rotated by season, toiletries, non-perishable snacks replaced yearly, and a tire pressure gauge. Items I need: cardiopulmonary resuscitation mask, gloves, splint, sling, tourniquet, fuses, and a method of water filtration. I feel underprepared. Story 153. Am I the only one who keeps a scan tool in my car? Maybe it's just an old habit from owning unreliable cars. You never know when the check engine light will come on, so I need to make sure it's not a catastrophic problem. Story 154. 1. Phone charger. 2. First aid kit. 3. Roll of toilet paper in a Ziploc bag. 4. Extra large can of Fix-A-Flat. 5. Pair of sweatpants, t-shirt, and hoodie in case you or your date get stuck in the rain. 6. Bottled water unless temperatures are below freezing. Story 155. Wet wipes, dental floss, gum, snacks, umbrella, and extra water. Story 156. Things I have actually used. Jumper cables, first aid kit, paper towels and rags, blanket, gloves, rope, trash bags, flattened cardboard boxes, important documents, paper, and pen to record information in case of an accident, ice scraper and brush, sunshade for the windshield, basic toolkit, knife. I do not carry a fire extinguisher because I worry it will bang around in the car, and I would rather run if I needed to use one. An air pump could be handy, but I have never needed one on the road. I have also used an American Automobile Association card. Story 157. Flashlight, knife, blanket, reusable grocery bags, car jack, spare tire, napkins. Story 158. I'm a Tesla owner. Since I bought it, I wondered what to do with the frunk, so I turned it into an emergency kit. Flashlights, umbrellas, beach towels, hats, and other items. Story 159. Blankets, water, food, tools, a flashlight, and a first aid kit. Story 160. Jumper cables, a spare tire and changer, a flashlight, and cat litter. Story 161. I carry a first aid kit, unopened bottles of water, a flashlight, tire sealant, and jumper cables or a battery starter. I also keep a blanket, a hoodie, a notepad, and a pen. Story 162. Jump starter pack and atlas, a bag of playground sand, for meals ready to eat, a first aid kit, fuses, a tire pressure gauge, 2.5 gallons of water, a gas can, a jack, a spare tire and wrench, fluids to top off your car, glass cleaner, and paper towels. Story 163. My go-to items. a floor jack, two jack stands, and a wheel chock because the scissor jacks that most cars come with are unsafe. A long-handled half-inch ratchet and a set of sockets, especially the sizes used for the car's lug nuts, because the lug wrenches that come with the small jack are often useless. A tire pressure gauge and an inflator. A fire extinguisher, replaced every few years. A small first aid kit, also replaced every few years because heat degrades the supplies. Portable jump starter. The Gulu unit I bought has worked well and has saved me from tow bills. I also carry a rechargeable flashlight, a pocket knife, basic tools, and a multimeter in my work van. Story 164. Peanut butter in case of a traffic jam. Story 165. Keep a flashlight unless you never drive in the dark. Paper towels are useful for many things. A four-way tire tool is useful if you get a flat. If you consider a folding four-way tool, do not buy one from Walmart. I had one, and when I dropped it, one of the folding ends broke. It was cheaply made. Story 166. Sunglasses, candies, and a tool to clean your windows in winter. Story 167. I have one of these emergency kits. It is compact and can charge your phone, jumpstart your car, serve as a flashlight, and inflate your tires. In addition, I keep a small fire extinguisher and a first aid kit inside, plus a couple of bottles of water, a spare set of clothes, and a roll of toilet paper. Story 168. It depends on where you live, but a phone charger, a water bottle, and one roll of toilet paper are necessities everywhere, I guess. Story 169. I wear a high-visibility vest when changing tires on the side of the road. Story 170. Extra clothing, especially warm items, and an emergency insulation blanket. First aid kit. Flashlight with spare batteries. Power bank to charge your phone if it runs out of battery. A Bluetooth tracker such as an AirTag to locate your car if it is stolen. Emergency cash. A glass breaker or window breaking tool. Fire extinguisher. Emergency toilet paper and hand sanitizer or disinfectant wipes. Spare tire and the tools required to change a tire. Jumper cables or a portable jump starter. Condoms that are not expired. A book or other form of entertainment in case you are stranded and need to wait. Story 171. Fire extinguisher. A fire in your car will destroy it if you cannot stop it. Story 172. Spare wired phone charger and universal serial bus dongle. Cash enough to get 1/4 tank of gas and a bottle of water. Glass break tool. Suitable jumper cables. 6-gauge for sedans or 4-gauge for sport utility vehicles. Spare tire with proper tools or tire sealant. Flashlight with fresh batteries. Simple first aid kit. Non-perishable, shelf-stable snacks. Portable air compressor. Simple hand tools. Change of clothes in a large zip-top bag. Spare shoes. Camping poncho. Children's clothes and diapers in a zip-top bag. Notes. Portable jump starters are convenient, but their batteries can discharge if left unused for a year, so also carry jumper cables. Place a piece of electrical tape over flashlight battery contacts. Simple hand tools include a flathead screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, slip joint pliers, and combination pliers. 6-gauge cables are usually sufficient for an average 4-door sedan. 4-gauge is recommended for a sport utility vehicle. 1-gauge and 2-gauge cables are recommended for heavy-duty and larger personal vehicles. Spare clothes and shoes are for when you get dirty or wet while changing a tire in the rain. Children's clothes are in addition to the diaper bag. Keep a spare set in case you forget the diaper or day bag. Professional tip. There is a lot of empty space in the spare tire well. On top of the spare tire but below the trunk floor panel. Store tools and gear to keep them in the vehicle but out of the way when hauling items. Story 173. What I have not seen yet are candles not for light but for a bit of heat if you are forced to camp out in the car. Also missing are flares, blankets, and water. Story 174. I keep a raincoat, a blanket, a flashlight, a knife, and a pistol in my truck at all times. Story 175. A rag and a water bottle filled with tap water to clean bird droppings before they harden and damage the paint. Story 176. Portable jump starter with built-in air pump. Tire repair kit for small punctures. including a T-shaped insertion tool and rubber plugs. Hydraulic bottle jack. The standard scissor jack that comes with cars is unreliable. Collapsible lug wrench for easier lug nut removal. Blankets. Small first aid kit. A few road flares. Box of common automotive fuses. Hand crank flashlight. Paper map of the main area, picked up at an interstate rest area. Paper napkins in the glove box. Story 177. Where I come from, we used to keep a decent bottle of alcohol stashed, just in case we needed to bribe a police officer. Story 178. Seat belt. I'm surprised no one mentioned it. You should buckle it every time you start the car because you do not want to forget. Story 179. A jack, AT wrench, a flashlight, proof of insurance, and a .38 caliber Beretta semi-automatic pistol in the glove box with registration paperwork. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.